It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
So let's get to our guest. Let's get to the Libertarian candidate for governor. Mark West is on the line. Mark, it's always great to have you on, sir.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, sir. Your name came up at the, or you were referenced at the Benton County Republican Committee a couple of weeks ago because the Senate Majority Leader, the Republican Jim Hendren, the incoming President Pro Temp of the Senate, the governor's nephew, was upset that we've had you on the show. Now, he said we've had you on numerous times. We've only had you on a couple of times, but they certainly don't want you to have a platform, it looks like.
No, they certainly don't. I imagine that the internal polls that they are looking at are showing the same thing that was reflected in the poll that came out Tuesday night. That Asa's losing support, we're picking up momentum, and he doesn't want that to get out. That is funny that they would say I've been on your show numerous times. I think I've been on twice this entire cycle since last August. So that is very humorous. That and if the governor's platform and his record is so great, why are they so worried about stifling people who might say something about it?
That's exactly right. You're referring to the Talk Business in Hendricks College poll. They asked this question in the race for governor. The candidates are Libertarian Mark West, Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson, Democrat Jared K. Henderson. If the election for governor were held today, which candidate would you support? You pulled in 6%, Mark West 6%, Governor Asa Hutchinson 60%, Jared Henderson 25%, and 9% were undecided. Now, that 6%, that would actually get the Libertarians ballot access without a petition next cycle. Is that right?
Yes, it is. The way the state law is written, we have to have 3%. Right now, we're polling at twice what we need to secure that, which is exciting for the candidates in 2020 because they'll be able to start on more of a level footing. They won't have to spend the $30,000 some odd dollars that they have to spend every campaign cycle to just to get ballot access. That money can go to campaigns and building the party across the state. So that is an exciting thing to have. And the interesting thing, this is the second poll of this this race for governor, and they've both been done by the Hendricks Talk Business Politics Alliance. And the one back in March had Asa at 63%, and now he's down to 60%. So we're slowly chipping away at this advantage he has. I really believe if we can get exposure and keep plugging away, we're going to be going all over the state. We can, continue to cut into his lead and get him down below 50. That's our goal. Is right now, since we're starting at 6%, we want to keep getting him further and further below 50%.
What is your biggest problem with Governor Asa Hutchinson in terms of his record?
My biggest problem, well, it's hard to encapsulate in one thing, but as I was debating Jared Monday night, Asa didn't show up, but I was debating Jared in front of a crowd that was mostly Democrat. A lot of Jared supporters had showed up, and they let them all come in the studio and watch the debate.
Wasn't there somebody dressed like a chicken? Wasn't there someone dressed like a chicken?
There was somebody dressed like a chicken, yes. There was somebody standing on the street corner in a suit with an Asa sticker on their suit, and they were carrying an Asa sign, but they were dressed like a chicken, and all the other supporters were playing the chicken dance music and doing the chicken dance out there on the corner as we arrived at the debate the other night. So that was very humorous. I like to see kind of the shot across the bow there. But all those supporters, they got to come in and they got to watch the debate. But the one thing about the debate that stood out was just how little difference there is between a Governor Hutchinson versus a Governor Henderson. They are both very, very close on a lot of issues. Hutchinson wants the tax to go from, the income tax top rate to go from 6.9 to 5.9, and Henderson wants to leave that there and spend the money on teachers. And then you have, gun rights. the ASA is now open to, red flag laws as long as they meet due process, which, is impossible. But especially the way red flag laws are written, that's just impossible. But, of course, Jared wants, more, he favors more of the what he calls reasonable gun control, but I don't see it as reasonable to take away someone's right to self-defense when they've broken no law. Mm-hmm. So they're very similar there in that Asa, is open to the red flag laws, which, he shouldn't be. Especially considering he's claiming himself to be the conservative option.
Well, what's sad about that is, I mean, I know you were following, politics. Obviously, as a libertarian candidate for governor, we're talking with Mark West. What's interesting about that is, there's no way he comes out in favor of red flag laws, which is gun confiscation, based on allegation, if he were still in a primary with Jan Morgan, who is a firearms, fire range owner and firearms instructor, and had a lot of support from the Second Amendment. And, Second Amendment people, and, of course, the Republicans vilified them and vilified her, and now he comes out in support for red flag laws. I mean, it's really it speaks for itself. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's one of those things you kind of see coming. And, also, he is a big government guy. And as a libertarian, libertarians are for very, very small, very, very limited government. So we, we're going to work to try to get government as small as it can get, because the less powerful government is, the more powerful individuals are to have control of their lives, to have control of their businesses and their communities. And, basically what he is governed as is a progressive. He's, using Arkansas Works to keep control of health care. He uses this form of corporatism to basically build up these foreign corporations come into the state, but what he's doing in essence is making it a uncompetitive atmosphere for small and family businesses in the state as he does that. So we want we want to make Arkansas's government it should be about the people and not about politicians, special interests, and big corporations.
If I do have to say this. I appreciate, you being willing to debate. I can't believe I even have to say this, Mark. I mean, and if you're a Republican right now, and you're looking at the scheme, the grand scope of things, and maybe you're a Republican and you're gonna vote for Asa. Maybe you can't wait to vote for Asa. But what does it say about the Republican Party, Mark, when the candidate for governor, who's polling at 60%, won't show up and debate? I mean, isn't it supposed to be the party of ideas? Or is it, in our whole system, forget like the party label, aren't we supposed to want to debate ideas and be transparent and, win the people with our arguments?
Well, we should. And, in this state, that tends to be a problem with incumbents. Incumbents don't want to debate. They dodge debate. And they will only debate almost when they're forced to. AETN, Asa, from what I understand, he has confirmed to be in the AETN debate, but that's because AETN is going to air the debate on TV whether he's there or not. So his feet are kind of held to the fire on that one. The big deal with the debate Monday night is we had the opportunity for this debate to be broadcast on live television all over the state. KAIT in Jonesboro, KATV in Little Rock, and KFSM up in Fort Smith. All three stations had the approval to preempt national broadcasting to air this debate live on television, so long as the governor, the incumbent, participated in the debate. Well, when he declined, they lost that permission from the national networks and had to live stream the debate instead. So, what could have been hundreds of thousands of voices, or hundreds of thousands of homes, seeing this debate and getting to hear our ideas and the differences in them, and to see the contrast in small government, big government, because that's what this race is coming down to. You've got two big government guys, and then you have the other guy, and that's me, and I'm the only one that is standing for small government, standing for the people. But we didn't get to get that message out as broadly as we could have with that live televised debate because Asa wouldn't participate.
So you say he is going to debate at AETN because that will be broadcast across the state. Now, I mean, I've seen AETN debates before. I'm not going to, blanketly say that there's nothing good that comes of them in terms of knowledge. But from what I have, observed, I think they are pretty controlled. It's a pretty controlled environment with the journalists that they select to ask questions and that sort of thing. So what are you expecting from that debate, and will it be different than the debate that you guys just got finished with, you and the Democrat?
Well, the one thing I did appreciate about the debate Monday night, Roby Brock and Chris May, they were very good about getting us, well, what do you think about what this guy just said? And letting us kind of have this back and forth, giving us the opportunity to debate and, hash our ideas back and forth. That's the one drawback, to the AETN debate is it really is kind of a joint press conference. You get to kind of make your statements, and then you can make a rebuttal, but you don't really get that interaction. So I'm disappointed that we're not going to get that in, a broadcast debate. And that's the one disappointment I have. But I am looking forward to being able to try to confront him on, his issues and on the things that he is, that he's doing that hurt our government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think, I really appreciate it. I know that there are efforts to, I talked about it earlier. There are efforts to, they don't want your message out. There are people now comparing, Conduit to terrorists, in Republican county committees. I mean, that's, it's just interesting how there is kind of this move to silence, this idea of open debate and a free exchange of ideas. They don't want to hear it, and I think that's dangerous. I think it's harmful because we have to keep talking to one another. Even if you're pointing out a big government record. I mean, hey, maybe. Why are people so afraid? Mark? Why can't they just stand on their record? And I really feel like it's their, when people have these standards, a platform or whatever, or what they ran on, and then they fail to meet them, they're real sensitive if they get called out on it. Instead of just, owning up to the fact that, you missed the mark, instead they lash out at others and they try to silence.
Yeah, it really is sad. I mean, because the open forum, that open forum of discussion, that's where the people deserve to hear these things hashed out. That's where people deserve to be able to hear what their choices really are, what they're getting versus what they can have. And it is sad to see, the voices being stifled. It's sad that you have a governor who is bragging about, his record, how great his record is, and yet when we want to have a public conversation about that record, he dodges it. Mm-hmm. Why? Why would you dodge that public conversation if you really, truly believe your record is, as great as you say it is? And one of the things that he wants to hide is that, this is kind of a lot of this recovery, or a lot of this growth in Arkansas is kind of piggybacked on, what's happening with, at the federal level, and, not so much what he's actually doing.
Yeah.
And, what we see is, the state government is stifling small businesses and family businesses with regulations, with various forms of taxation, but then they're bringing these foreign businesses in and giving them all the benefits in the world.
Yeah.
And we wonder why, people, in rural communities are suffering, and only 7 counties are growing. Well, that's why, because the governor's making sure, and the state legislator's making sure that these small businesses are regulated to death.
Yeah, and this whole thing, doing business with China is, it's just it stinks to high heaven at this point, especially when you read about what they're doing to their citizens over there. I mean, why would we want to support that and do business? It's one thing to trade. It's a whole other thing to give them our taxpayer dollars and bring them to Arkansas and ask them to open up a factory.
That's what I'm saying. You're giving them benefits. You're basically rewarding them for what they're doing over there to their people when you give them, benefits that you're not giving local companies. And that's just, it's sad, and it's bad for Arkansas, and it hurts, it hurts hardworking Arkansans, especially when their tax dollars are the ones that are basically being used to bring these companies in and to extend these benefits to these big companies that come in.
Mark West, Libertarian candidate for governor. Appreciate it, sir. Let's do it again, okay?
All right. Thank you, Paul.
All
Have
righty.
a great day.
All right. It's Mark West, ladies and gentlemen. Always great to have him on. And, of course, that's now the third time we've had him on. So can you now say we've had him on numerous times? Boy, the Republican Party is really getting sensitive. Need to watch out. Need to be careful who we're becoming here, right? Need to have open ideas, open debate. Let's not be scared.